Here's the project for this week. This is a little kitchen table at my son's house, and it's not very old. I'm not sure where he got it, but it's nice. I believe it's a solid wood. It was a painted set, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the legs as is and just clean them up and freshen them up. I won't repaint them. It has a really good finish on it. But and the seats aren't too bad, but I'm going to take down the seat tops, and I'm going to take down the table, and I'm going to stain it. Not 100% sure what color I'm going to do it yet, but I first want to see what I get when I take this finish off and color and all the paint. And so first thing I'm going to do is unscrew everything and take all the tops outside. And then I plan to strip it. So let's get started. Oh, I can do that. I'm simply going to wipe it down because I'm going to strip it. So I'm not worried about any kind of polishes or anything like that that might be on here. I'm going to label these because you never know that they might not screw back in easily. So let me get some paper for that. So I took apart the table. It was a little bit challenging only because I'm not sure where things are, and it's a little more difficult to work in a space that's not your home space. But the table is apart. I have it right here, and I will show you afterwards. I'm going to start to strip the top. So, and I have a stripper, that I try to use a lot. It's actually one that I get from Lowe's, and it seems to work pretty well. And it's the premium paint and epoxy remover. It says 15 minutes, but I don't know. I think what I will do, it's not super dry, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some plastic bags over it just to cover it and keep it moist, because it works better if it stays moist. So let's start with doing that, and I'm going to start with the large part of the table. Then afterwards I will do the seats. So yeah, let's go. Yay! There's nothing sweeter than finding what you need. Oh my goodness, how easy was that? I just walked in and grabbed it. I'm going to let this dry before I handle it, and then I will put that aside and work on the small ones. I wanted to do what I thought would be the most difficult one first. I could use more stripper on that and get the rest of the paint off, but I think at this point I'm just going to go ahead and sand it.
I'll be right with you.
Thank you.
Oh, what can I get for you?
Thank you. Can I have a medium hot caramel latte with whole milk, please?
A medium hot caramel latte with whole milk?
Yes, please.
Anything else?
No, thank you. Let's go back and see if the tabletop is dry. So you might be wondering, why didn't I do the corners and the edges all at once when I was doing the top and the sides? And it's mainly because it needs a little bit more care with how you angle your sander. And so what I suggest doing is to really get to know the tool that you're using really well, and get a feel for it, how aggressive it is and what kind of sandpaper you're using. So here I'm actually using 80 grit, and that might sound like, oh, that's a lot. It is, but I'm using it for a couple of reasons. First of all, I want to get it done quickly because I don't have it attached to my vacuum sander. Second of all, because I want to create some texture because I'm going to use oxalic acid on the surfaces, and I want, to have some, to create some, cellular damage in a way so that the acid can get into all those grooves, because you can see, although I don't think Tommy would hate it if I put a stain on like this, the black paint picks up in these grains. I think it would look okay and it'd be fine, and it's not a fancy piece of wood by any means, so I think that would be acceptable. I figured I would try it. I'm going to just try to put a couple of doses of oxalic acid, and then I'll do some fine sanding afterwards, because the water with the oxalic acid will lift the fibers of the grain, and I'll have to do some resanding. Oh, lastly, the reason I wait until the end is because all I'm doing is edge grain, so I'm not going from, possibly pressing onto the surface without thinking. What you want to do is really get the feel of doing all those edges and having a soft hand. So if you do them all at once, you're less likely to take out big diggers by accident. So do all your edges at once, get the feel of the sander and the sandpaper. You can always opt to do it by hand as well, but I really want to get this done, and I'm usually pretty good with my sander. So, yeah. All right, I have washed them with oxalic acid, and I think I did it off camera. I was just so exhausted I didn't even think about setting up the camera to do it. but they're all rinsed, and I have them just drying in the sun, and I have to let them dry very, very well. I have two different color stains, and I'll show you. I'm using two different colors of oil stains. This is a gel stain from General Finishes called Nutmeg, which is a medium dark stain. The other is Czar Vintage Modern lighter caramel color oil. Here's a sample piece that I tested just to see what I have. Although I usually prefer non-gel stains, the General Finishes has a modest opacity, which I find is acceptable on wood, and I'll begin on the table with the lighter color. And I'll layer these just to get a color that I like. I'm starting with 120 grit, and I go over each piece of wood at about a 45-degree angle because I want to take down the fibers that have lifted after rinsing it off with rinsing off the oxalic acid. And I go in each direction at 45 degrees. And then I take long sweeps as evenly as I can from top to bottom. And then I do a final coating of 220 with my random orbital. And I clean off all of the wood dust after that and give it a nice spray down with shellac. This will prepare the wood for my oil. If you're wondering, yes, the oil does go through the shellac. And it tends to create a more even finish, and especially if you do the grain ends, because those tend to pick up a little heavier. So, and typically I stain those last so that I can really pay attention to them. Now, if you get too much stain on your ends, you can always resand them and take it down to the level that is your preferred uptake, and so that it basically looks even, or as even as possible, all over each piece of wood. The color of the basic wood looks different from the tabletop to the seats. So with the seats, I prepare those the same way. I went over them at 45-degree angles. I did them linearly, and then I went over them with the 220. I removed all the dust, and I will spray them down with shellac. But my main purpose, or my first step, will be to get the color on the table. And based on the color that the table picks up is how I will aim to try as much as I can to match the seats to the tabletop. So it may not be perfect, but I'll do the best I can. But let's first see what happens with that tabletop, and then we will work on those seats. I didn't really want it in the bright sun, so I'm going to have to find some more shade. So you can see here that I have to do it over again because it started drying so fast. The sun came out and I was kind of stuck there. So I tried to work as fast as I could and fill in the spots that I missed, but I just couldn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand that down a little bit. I'll just hit it over again. The good thing about using oils is that they can be reconstituted with more oil, more easily than water-based products. The bad thing is it dries more slowly, but that's good because I'll get in there with, I'll sand it once. I'm going to let it dry up a little bit and I'll sand it. And then when I'm out of the sun and I have everything at my fingertips, I'll be able to go over that. I'm trying not to get any stain on this little table. It's not really a work table, so just blowing it. So I was kind of thinking out about that too. So there's a number of things going on here. But the first coat looks pretty good. That's what I wanted. It's an oil. It gives it, kind of an even appearance. It's taking a long time to dry, but I'm going to put on my second coat, which is the gel stain. And I don't have another brush, so I'm just going to apply it with one of my shop rags. And I'm going to apply it now. It's dry to the touch, which is fine. And then I'll let it sit overnight, and hopefully it will be very dry tomorrow morning. It's my stir stick. So I like the color of the tabletop, and it's a good tone. I think we're going to stick with that. And the seats are pretty good. I actually did it the opposite way. I started with the dark brown, and then I added the gold tones over and let them dry last night. Now this morning, it's still not quite deep enough, so I'm going to go over it with the dark brown again. And I think that should bring us to the place where we want. I know it appears that when you put on an oil, you just keep wiping off, which is true. But the tricky thing about oil is most other processes dissolves like. So if you have a little bit of sticky dampness, that one level of oil hasn't dried, in other words, and you put another coat on it, what's going to happen is the fresh coat is actually going to lift the previous coat. So it's a little tricky to put on. You have to wait until it's dry. Is kind of a misconception that I've heard in the past. So just to let you know that. And I'm going to put on the brown, and I'll put that on a fast speed, but I'll show you the last coat of color, I hope, on the seats. going to do now is go over the tabletop with a little bit of steel wool, very, very lightly. I just want to take off any dust nibs off the surface and prepare it for the top coats. So it doesn't look like much, but what I'm trying to do is even it out, even though in the camera it's much more obvious than it is in real life. Like, this is not really yellow right here. It's definitely a brown. It doesn't pick up yellow at all in the daylight or true light. But all I'm doing is, it's dry, and this brush has, you know, just a teeny bit of dampened oil on it, and so I'm just hitting a few places, and it's just, that's how it is. So I mean, you don't have to do this. I'm sure it will still look nice, but I'm really fussy about my finishes. And yeah, sometimes it's just a matter of hours, or it could be a day. A day longer will make a huge difference if you have that time. And so that's what I'm doing right here. Yeah, but it looks good. And this is a Waterlocks product, and it's a resin modified tung oil, which means that it dries really, really hard. So I finally gave in after years of refinishing and restoration, and I got Odie's oil, mainly because I couldn't get the Waterlocks. This will dry more quickly, and my son will be happier to have his table back and be able to use it. So yeah, alrighty. So I stirred it up. It's nice and thick. And it's going to be fun to be able to put it on with my bare hands. And I have a sponge. Okay, so I let that dry for about 2 hours, and now I'm going to wipe it down with a nice clean dust-free cloth and hopefully be able to put the tables and chairs back together tonight. Thank you for watching this week's video, and this is seats that I did over for my son. I removed the paint off of the tabletop and of the tops of the seats and refinished it with some nice stains, and it goes pretty well with his cabinets, I think. Stay tuned for some more photos, and I hope you have a great rest of your weekend. It's good to be back refinishing furniture, and I wish you all good and beautiful things. Take care.